Hello, and thanks everybody so much for joining us this week on the NABLL Weekly Update Show, or the North American Box Lacrosse League Weekly Update Show. So, with us today, we have sitting on the top, we have Bill Hardy. I know you as a ref from the Oswego games and seeing you around the league last year, but as we were talking, so you ref all over. You ref college, you ref
I do
everything.
college. I do college and high school. Yes, I've done the world indoor and outdoor games. Um, you know, everywhere from Lake Placid to Michigan to Florida, I've refereed, and I've kind of coordinated the officials that we have here in upstate New York. Which at this point in time, we've got about 10 guys now that are actually doing box lacrosse within around the Central New York region, which is about seven more than we had last year. So the numbers are growing, the interest is growing, and we're really excited for the year to see where this goes. We recruited a lot of Division One lacrosse officials. I actually have a hockey guy that has joined our ranks. I got another hockey guy coming. I've got some collegiate basketball guys with very, very good experience as referees, and we're introducing them to box lacrosse.
And that's kind of par for the course. So on the bottom, for anybody who doesn't know, we've got David Mather. You're the GM of the Seattle Kings. You're on the NABLL boards. You've played for the U.S. national team. You've lived on the West Coast. You've moved out here. You've done the Boxborough thing where you've essentially moved to. You played for the Onondaga Redhawks over here. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
So you guys have been so busy on the off season. Did you guys know each other before you started doing this with the NABLL? Just happenstance from being in Syracuse at all?
No, but I believe Bill might have worked a game or two when I was on and playing in the World Championships. I think he was reffing one or two of those games. It's funny. Bill was one of my first calls when we were going around. I'm the coordinator for the NABLL. I'm one of those duties includes referee development. I've started reffing more recently, and I'm certainly not the expert, but as the title says, I'm here to coordinate and connect with people like Bill, Rick Anderson in Long Island, a lot of different refs from around the country who have done a lot of the work already. And that's really what we're trying to do here is continue the progress we've made separately and do it together. And so yeah, me and Bill have been on the phone a number of times last couple months here.
Now, something box lacrosse is huge in central and upstate New York, and obviously in Canada. Now, Bill, you can attest to this, but as people jump in, it really seems to be the best way to learn is I like to say, as the board from the box league says, we built the airplane as we were flying it. And Bill, when we first were talking, you kind of jumped into refereeing the same way. You showed up to kind of watch a little bit, and then it was, well, I guess transitioning into the box game.
Yeah, when they when the games were at the Onondaga Nation back in 2015, I had a lot of friends from Canada that I had actually done the World Outdoor Games in Denver with. They were from Canada, they were from Czechoslovakia, they were from all over the world. A great group of people that get involved to do this. And little do people know that a lot of the referees internationally, when they travel, they actually travel on their own dime. You don't get paid for it, and they're there for 2 weeks. And these are just great people that are really giving of their time. And so, being that I live 2 miles from the Onondaga Nation and all these people were in town, I went down to see everybody and meet everybody. And, we were at, local establishments in and around Syracuse. Then I got a call one morning and they were going to have some scrimmages. In fact, the scrimmage they asked me to come down to referee was Australia versus England. And they said, look, can you come down and help us? Because we're all in classrooms and we've got a guy coming in from the NLL. He'll basically run the game for you. It's lacrosse. If something stupid happens, just fix it. And that's basically how I learned how to do it is, watch the game. If something doesn't look like lacrosse, stop it and fix it. And it's grown into a little bit more than that for me since that time. But that's pretty much how most of the field guys get involved is there's a need, somebody drags them into it, and then they get hooked because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's how it worked for me. I saw my first game and I was absolutely in. Now, Dave, how did you get into box lacrosse to begin with?
Uh, when I was a junior in high school, the Stealth moved to town. They play in Everett, just down the street from where I'm living now. The uh, Lewis Radcliffe started the Stealth Academy. We were part of the first U.S. Box the national championships, and yeah, I dove in as 17-year-old, playing 6 hours a weekend because they needed goalies, and uh, before you knew it, I was up in BC and running with it.
Yeah, and then the next thing you know, you're moving to the East Coast, changing your life and going all over the place. It is crazy how much this game gravitates. But now, so last year was the first year of the NABLL, and one of the biggest things that you guys got as far as like comment cards and stuff were, a little bit more consistency with the ref. Now, what have you guys done? Because you've done a ton of work this year. We've talked several times about this, and everybody like all the rest of the board members and everybody in the league has really basically been giving kudos to you guys and for all the work that got put into it. And you've got what like an unofficial partnership, and you guys are working with the NLL referees now.
Yeah, we put a lot of work into it. We put a lot of focus into it. It's always going to be something where every league strives to develop. I mean, you look at the Super Bowl, the NCAA lacrosse championships. There's always going to be room for improvement with referees. So what we're trying to do, like you said, last year we were building the airplane as we were flying it. A lot of times you see referees pull up in the parking lot and they're explaining the rules by their partner for the day. We're hoping to give them a little bit more runway and start to develop guys. Like we're recruiting in my region here in the Northwest for new referees, and the one of the teams asked me, was like, "What's the requirement for experience?" And I answered willing. The we we're at the point where we're developing the league. It's in its infancy, and we want to continue to build off of things. So if we can get these people in now who can learn the game, be get the experience, they have all more and more opportunities as this league grows and more games. Hopefully, those people in 4 or 5 years are seasoned veterans, and we really see that development. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing. Um, oh, I expect us to get better this summer, but I don't expect us to be anywhere near perfect. But it also comes on the other side with the way that the teams and the players treat the referees. We have to keep these guys around, and when like Bill mentioned, you have 3 guys in the whole region who are willing to do games. You have to take care of those 3 guys, or else you're not going to have anybody to referee their game. So it's going to take an effort from everybody across the board to make sure we're pushing in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Bill, how have you found it's been essentially dealing with guys in this league? Because it's a very interesting league as far as some of these teams take it very serious, and some of these teams it's more of a pickup lacrosse
Yes,
game. It's a very
there's
diverse league.
absolutely, and I'll tell you, I think we're very, very fortunate here in Upstate. We have 4 teams that are very committed to the game. I mean, I don't know anybody that works harder than Paul Necker and Nathan Jobson. Um, you know, it- those guys
Arnold.
who, Corey Arnold, and now and
Jason Webb, yeah, the
Jason Webb
entire
of the Oswego group. These people are working really, really hard. In fact, it was funny the other day. I told Jason a story about uh, one of his sponsors is actually my cousin's husband. And of course, my son plays on his team. And I was like, the dynamics of this is a lot smaller than you'd actually would believe when you start to get that type of a crossover. But so they're very committed here in Upstate. They have been, when everything first started last year, and even some of the teams in their real infancy back to the IBLA days, the players didn't know the rules, the coaches really didn't know the rules, and it was like, okay, so what are we playing by today? And I think everybody's now getting familiar. The big thing everybody complained about in the beginning was all the players were used to an 8-second clear count. Well, we're playing with a 10-second clear count. And everybody's screaming at you all day long once that clock hits 22. And finally, at least halfway through the season, everybody started to relax on that. And then we got them to realize, look, I know that clock may say 22, but that doesn't necessarily, we are doing a hand count as officials in the league as opposed to using, because of the dynamics of the box. And, it's tough to communicate at times, particularly with people off the floor. So we do it as a hand count. And we really don't want we want play to continue as it is. But I think the players are starting to get used to it. They're starting to understand that boarding will not be tolerated. And quite frankly, our guys here, we've told them, on boarding, we want you to administer it as stringently as possible. I personally have a hard time with a 2-minute boarding. I like to see 5-minute boardings because it sets a tone and it keeps players safe. Last thing you want to hear is some player tell you, I have to go to work on Monday morning. And you do have to go to work on Monday morning. And it is my job to make sure you're safe. But I think the continuity in the rules, everybody is starting to get what's going on with the NLL rules.
That's
There's an
been a
old
big thing,
gentleman.
though, just unifying the rules essentially and making sure everybody knows. Because, like you said, there is
Yeah.
so many different, like covering different ones. Like I go to Can-Am, and there is no
Yes,
middle line. And they play three
that's
periods, and there's no
that's
over and
correct.
back, and it's
Yep.
like,
It's I have a dear friend, an old gentleman. He's about 87 years old. He was actually Jim Brown's roommate when they played together at Syracuse. They traveled. He always told me, he goes, Bill, someday lacrosse will be a real sport. We'll get all the rules exactly the same. And it is tough on players and fans also. You know, even at youth levels, you get mom and dad sitting on the sideline in a field game yelling because, well, that's not the rule. Well, it is in that league, but it's just not in the leagues that you watch all the time. And it is a frustrating scenario to have 40 different sets of rules. And I think things are really coming around more to the NLL type rules, which are very similar to the FIL rules. And the more people watch it, they'll start to see the consistency. And I think a lot of the interaction, the extra interaction between players, coaches, and officials is going to calm down. Lacrosse is going to get better because I tell you, I think the talent base here is really, really good. And it's like I tell a lot of guys, when I do a Division 1 game, I don't hear a word from the players on the field, not a word, because the pace is so fast that if they're standing there debating with officials, they've already lost.
I,
There's a goal
Yeah.
at the other end.
I clipped a great highlight of it that you could see at Laxney. Somebody was arguing with the official, and then they get a 2-on-1 the other way because this guy was standing there arguing over the call, and they score the goal. And I
No,
loved it because somebody in the comments called it out. They were like, "Oh, he wouldn't have helped. Could have helped his team instead of arguing with the ref there."
and that's really where our talent base is here in this league right now. It's a very, very good level.
Well,
And when our players concentrate on lacrosse, it's really a beautiful thing to watch.
and one thing we've talked about, and I'm sure Dave can talk about this as well, but the NLL, Can-Am, and definitely the NABLL with the box league is really focusing on there is no off-ball slashes, that cross-check. You can still push guys out of the crease, but you don't want to see that whacking at
They,
them. It's got to be like
they,
a controlled body push. You're pushing with your hips,
the,
and
the term is hold and direct.
Yeah. I just want to speak real quick on the just to jump back on the NLL rulebook and the consistency on rules. That's something we've been striving for. That on the board, I was a CLA diehard. I grew up playing junior A, senior A out there. Some of my favorite games were 4-3 games. I'm a goalie. The it's and I was on that side for the longest time, but I really think seeing that consistency in the rule set from the top down, having we briefly mentioned having Don Kowarski, the director of officials for the NLL, having Jeremy Bailey, one of their top officials. He'd worked the NLL finals, and he's putting together these training videos for us. Brian Lemon with the director of lacrosse operations. All of them are pushing to help us develop this and have those consistent things where it's about us having a consistent set of rules for a period of time. Like having the 10-second clock, I think makes sense for us. We're older men and sometimes don't run as quick as the NLL athletes, but having that out there and set and communicated across the board is where we're gonna really see the value in having one rule set top to bottom. Like you said, for the fans, for the officials, for the players, it's
Now,
that consistency is something we're driving towards.
some of the guys that were at your nationals are NLL refs. Is that correct? I believe somebody told me that some of the guys from the nationals had done some of the NLL games.
There was one gentleman who I knew the guys because my son played in the Resolute program through COVID. So I knew a lot of the guys out there. There was one older gentleman who years ago did the NLL. He lives in Kentucky, actually. Guys, and he's in his 70s and still a Division I official out in the Midwest. Tremendous official. A lot of stuff has changed, obviously, since he was in the NLL. But yeah, there was one guy that was an NLL official out there.
Yeah, last year we drew from our local area. Resolute's a great program, has built a really great box culture in Ohio, so we had the officials to draw on. What you might have been talking about was the last year of the IBLA Nationals. We had a similar situation to what we have now with Brian Lemon being there. I think Don was there as well, picking out officials, and we had them come from all over. From all the different regions. Teams were nominating referees, and two of the referees from that camp or from that nationals end up working in the league now. One is an on the floor guy, one's still earning his stripes as a shot clock operator, but the league's serious about getting our guys involved and trying to build a pipeline like you see with the NHL, where you have the AHL, the ECHL, and referees are working on the same rule book, working at the same pace of play, and working their way up through it. That's how the NLL is hoping to see us in the coming years.
Well, you're having this league, like you said, that goes all the way across the country. Having a unified set of rules does make a huge difference because, like, even when the PBLA came, that all of the guys that had played in your league had such an advantage. Like there's so much experience that's gained in this league. As I say it all the time, the best way to learn anything is doing. And this league having guys get out on the floor more, so that way they're not only out for 1 or 2 games a year because being able to ref multiple games, you don't like the pace of play is different everywhere you play. Learning, the minor intricacies, like the big thing I would imagine is like a 30-second shot clock to a guy who's coached or ref high school lacrosse out here, where there is no shot clock.
I will tell you that unequivocally, reffing a box lacrosse game is more physically demanding than any Division I game I've ever done. The pace of play, even though the venue is smaller, the field is considerably smaller, obviously, but it's still that 30-second shot clock changes the dynamics that much. But the FIL does do a study periodically on how much officials are running on the field. We had one official last week that ran 18 miles in the games that he refereed. It's, typically it's between 4.5 to 5 miles is what you're going to run during a game. It really is significant. It's when I was told the numbers from the FIL, it's really kind of mind blowing how fast paced and how demanding it is. And it is so much different than doing a field game. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, the Don Kowarski, the director of officials, he's a NHL guy by trade, did 30 years, Stanley Cups, all that, and what he's really bringing to the NLL is a focus on mechanics, a focus on putting in the 60 minutes of work. If you go back and watch any of the games that from this year, you'll see how hard those referees are working, how close they are to the action. They're right on the edge of the crease, staring at toes while shots are whizzing by their head. It's tough work what they do.
Yeah, it's tough work, and like you were saying, like it's the little things now. Something that me and Bill had talked about before is the number of officials on the floor, and it's basically your refs kind of breaking it down, and maybe you guys could explain it better than me, but like sectioning the play off as far as instead of watching the whole game, they're responsible for, is it like a section of the floor or is it sections of the play? How do you guys figure that out?
Typically, it's section of the floor. Obviously, the lead official far side is the key goal line official, and then the single official who's on the bench side is obviously helping with the crease. And we cut that off at a diagonal in terms of responsibility. The guy that really has the heaviest lifting to do is the guy who's the trail official, because he's the one that's got to stay with the passer and shooter all the time to make and keep those players safe. We always say, as the trail official, if you watch the ball go in the net, you screwed up the play. And the biggest dynamics that we have, and the toughest thing for our guys to learn, is how to administer or how to count properly for too many men on the floor. And you have to do that as a two-man crew coming up the field. Obviously, the gentleman whoever's going to be the new lead is watching the guys coming out the offensive gate, and obviously the trail guy is counting the defensive guys coming out of the door. That's really the biggest responsibility in terms of catching things up and down the floor. As far as refereeing the box game, I don't find it more challenging. I actually think it's easier to administer the game, because you're not dealing, other than an over back line and the crease line, you're really not dealing with sidelines. You're not dealing with restraining lines, balls, feet, and stick all in a close proximity to a 4-inch line. It's actually, I think, easier. The toughest thing to do is the penalty administration and keeping everybody on page with what is going to be a foul and what's not going to be a foul. That's the toughest part in terms of training guys. They're all like, well, there's really nothing going on here. I said, yeah, but when it does go on, it goes on big and
fast. It happens.
Yes. Yeah.
The way that Jeremy and John were explaining the responsibilities, they brought up a concept that I hadn't heard before of hard eye and soft eye, where the lead officials down on the crease has a hard eye on the crease when they get close, and and a soft eye on the ball. The trail official is like Bill said, responsible for anything late, after a shot, after a pass, making sure that happens. But their hard eye is on the off ball stuff, and their soft eyes towards the center of the floor, right at the top of the arc you're seeing in the clips here. That's where 90% of the egregious things are going to happen, and so everyone has an eye on that as they were talking. And like Bill said, with the two-man crew, you're picking up one or two extra responsibilities, like counting the guys coming on and off the floor. When in a 3-man game, you'd be able to
you guys got to watch this, though. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Bill, I have to know what the actual call was here. I missed it, but here comes.
So he jumped over the goal and actually
rips his goalie's helmet off.
He dislodged the goal, and you can't intentionally dislodge the goal. That is a 2-minute delay game.
Okay, so that was
a great call. I love that.
It was a fantastic. So I was watching it at first, and that was actually I was coming, driving down a throughway when I saw that, and I'm like, did he just yank the goal away? And I thought my son actually had gone into the crease, and he goes, no, the guy actually landed on top of my foot.
Is that your son behind him?
Yes, that was my son. He was going to go for the dive, and he was like, "What is this guy doing?" Matt White.
Never seen anything like that.
It was a great call by Matt White for the delay of game.
Like you said, if something doesn't look like lacrosse, you fix it. I don't know. You could have called any number of things on this, but it's 2-minute delay game. Get him in the box. Let's figure it out from there. Like that. I think that's a great call.
But that was an interesting play. I saw that coming down the throughway, and it was like, what?
Well, that's the thing. And Lacrosse TV had just picked up all the streams that we're doing. So how cool was that? And they shared that. They were like, if you want to see this and all kinds of other crazy stuff, tune in, because we had all the games from Battle on the Barge streaming on Lacrosse TV. And Bill actually, thankfully, he was paying attention to it, so he was waiting for us to give him the signal that Lacrosse TV was ready, because they run on a little bit different time schedule than Lacrosse Bros especially. So it was very interesting. We really appreciated Bill doing that for us, because it made it so we started on time. The quarters were starting on time. It was so much easier on our end of it. So thank you. And what an awesome.
the one thing we do need to get our guys to help you with, and I will send you the pages. We need to give you the pages in the back of the NLL rule book. They have the signals from the referees. So you
Yes,
guys are up to speed as to what they are, because
yes.
there are several of them that are different than field hand signals, and it'll clarify some things when I send those to you. Also, I'm talking really hard to my guys this year up here that go over and give the signal to the penalty box, but turn to the benches, give the same signal, and if we are doing TV, slow it down so they give you announcers the opportunity to put it up on TV the way it's supposed to be. I think it'll clear up a lot of issues and confusion on a lot of things. But again, newer officials, my guys are just really starting now to get familiar with basic hand signals. They still have to get better, and you have to get better every single day. But in terms of delayed substitutions, you know, I try to get them to not use the slash for a check to the head, but use the high sticking, things that are a little bit easier to decipher than some of the other hand signals that we might use. But we're trying to get everybody on the same page to make for a better broadcasting piece for you guys also.
Yeah, no, I love it. You guys did great. And like I said, I don't know how people aren't, going to fall in love with this. We ended up, so we streamed this on what was supposed to be, they were going to be playing regular, like college reruns. So I'm sure we got a few new fans. And like I said, they loved it. They said nothing but, they had nothing but great things to say. And everybody I've talked to, I know we ended up picking up a bunch of PBLA fans that were in different Facebook groups and stuff. So now we've got guys watching these games from Virginia, from a bunch of guys from Elmira. Yeah,
Yeah.
Binghamton. We picked up a ton of fans, and you guys are doing a great job out there.
Well,
With
I'll tell you, Elmira from the PBLA this past year has developed a tremendous box lacrosse base down there. Their fans really got into it down there. Um, it wouldn't surprise me very, very soon to see a team in this league coming out of the Southern Tier. They just really, the Binghamton folks really took to it also. And I tell you, the PBLA did really help our officiating crews this year, because we had guys that were on the field extensively because of it. And they were on the field with really quality lacrosse players, a lot of guys who are still in this league, obviously the Central New York base. There's a lot of good box lacrosse being played here. And, having guys that are going to be adjudicating it, in a consistent and faster fashion than it has been in the past is really going to help. The delays in some of the administration can be really painful. But I think we've got good crews that are working over in the penalty box and the shot clock people. These are really dedicated people they're not getting paid. They're doing this for entertainment and for a love of a game, and they're getting better and better every game. And the more used to it they get, the better this product will be, and people are going to enjoy it more.
Oh, hands down, yeah. I think it's great. The super entertaining. Everybody loved it when they were watching the Nationals, the chats and everything about it. Now, Dave, you guys, you're starting to see even more, like the Box Lacrosse channel, Lacrosse TV is starting to stream Box Lacrosse. You were talking more about it when we were kind of talking the last time right before Nationals. And like, it's really becoming a West Coast thing too. They're doing a great job kind of spreading the game everywhere. You guys are seeing teams pop up all over. How has that been, going into this summer?
It's been good. I think things are just a little different on the West because we're so spread out. Like there's the closest teams to us are Salt Lake City. Um, close teams outside of a region is Salt Lake City. We scrap together a team from the Bay Area, pardon me, and so we don't quite get the. It's not as easy for us to have a battle of the barge or something like that, where a team comes up from Virginia and plays in New York. Um, so I think it's been tougher to get teams unified into it. I mean, you got the Southern California League there; they've been playing that forever. The in Colorado they have the I think it's the Rocky Mountain. Like, pardon me if I'm wrong in it, but they've been playing that forever. Where these pockets of really good lacrosse exist, and they have existed on their own. Um, so it's sometimes tough to unify them underneath one banner here, as you see with the BLL with, like I said, all those splinter leagues. Yeah, there's very good lacrosse. We're close here in the Pacific Northwest. We're close to BC. We have games scheduled against Canadian teams this summer. We're hoping to go up there. We're hoping a couple more will come down. Um, so it's been building a ton, and I mean, I think you saw it at nationals too. It's not always the traditional hotbeds that are going to be um, automatically winning the games like you'd see if we were a field national championship.
Yeah,
Um,
I was really blown away because I kind of went out there thinking, okay, the Northeast is going to go out and just show them what's up, and that was not the case out there at all. I mean, every team, really every team out there represented well. There was definitely not a even Collar City. They were pretty banged up and injured, and they only had what 9 guys there, and they still put on a great showing. They are so much
And
fun to watch. That Maloney kid,
yeah,
they have a very, very nice team. Yes, they absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I clip highlights of that kid all the time. He flies
Yeah.
around out there. There's a few young guys that play in these games. I love it. And this guy got it. So actually, the guy that scored right now, the only reason he even found the league was because Paul's crazy enough to put on all these streams. So that guy that scored right there is a perfect example of how the NABLL and then through Paul and then us doing this kind of stuff got him, and now he's driving 2 hours to play for the Eddie.
It's amazing how far people will drive to play. It's insane.
it's
It
insane.
really it is.
It,
It's
yeah, we drive 2 hours just to. And actually, like tomorrow,
yeah.
we have to drive out to Buffalo, so I have to get my Yeti talk show wrapped up in the morning so I can stream it tomorrow night. But we're driving out to Tuscarora to do Tuscarora Tonawanda, and Tonawanda has been they're 7-0 right now in that Can-Am league.
Oh,
They
nice.
they're kind of looking like they're running away with it. Tuscarora is on a little bit of a skid. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a good game.
I love that
Nice.
league. It's
Yeah.
great lacrosse.
Yeah,
I'll tell you some of the players that I hadn't seen that league in a lot of years. But some of the players I saw that came down, particularly from the Akwesasne, that I hadn't seen ever, were tremendous. There was one young gentleman up north, Skylar Thomas. I don't
yeah.
know if I've ever seen anybody get to the front of the cage faster than Skylar Thomas does, and he scored more times on dive plays in the PBLA. He was fantastic. But there's some great players out there, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of young college players that are now entering this league also that are going to be fantastic. You know,
Well, we
one of
saw
the
that with Oswego. Oswego
yes,
started the year like the Yeti handled them pretty easily at the beginning of the year, and then by the end of last year,
yes,
Oswego beat them. And then we
I,
just saw at the Battle on the Barge. I mean, it was a lot closer game until the end there. Oswego kind of pulled away, but that
yeah,
that's like the prime example of I could not wait to see how good Oswego had gotten this year because another year with
yeah.
sticks in those kids' hands and playing together, and you could really see it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, but I'm watching the highlight clips here, and you just had one of Neil Paulus. Neil Paulus is probably the oldest player in this league. But
Deej, the goalie for Collar City.
okay, well,
He's 60 or
oh my gosh,
yeah,
now that's like the guy from Scotland that was like 64 in the last set of World Games.
Yeah,
But Neil Paulus was fantastic the other day. He scored probably 4 goals in the second game. And I came home and I'm watching the replay of it, and his ability to find the open hole on a floor is just and his ability to shoot is still absolutely amazing. He doesn't run anybody over. He doesn't run by people. He just knows how to play lacrosse.
well,
And
another prime example of why this league is so great because you got a guy
yeah,
right there, Blaine Stotler. This is only his third year playing field,
yep,
but he gets to play under a guy like Neil Paulus and learn
yeah,
offense from a real legend in the game.
yeah. So no, there's some of the guys that I see in this league. Last year at the Nationals, I don't know which team he played for, but one of the guys who played had just graduated from Johns Hopkins. His name was Catoni. You'll probably remember because you talked about him the entire tournament. But he was a tremendous attackman at Hopkins. He was in this league. There's a lot of guys
Yeah.
out there, very talented lacrosse players
Well,
that are
watch.
gravitating to this.
He's about to lay down and he shoots over his shoulder as he's getting hit.
Yeah. It,
What?
no, Collar City has a nice team.
Yeah.
That's obviously they're not playing in this region any longer. did play with the group that was up here back in the IBLA days. In fact, it was tough to get a referee down in that area. But they're down, I believe Newburgh still has a team, and they're playing with some of those metro teams out of New York City, Northern New Jersey, Pennsylvania. But yeah, Collar City was impressive the other day with the players they had for the number they had, which was pretty minimal. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah. That's one thing Collar City does a lot. Oh, everybody froze for a second. Yeah, I can still hear you, Dave.
I can still hear you too also.
Oh, okay, so we're just paused for a second on the video, but we can still hear everybody.
At least Bill's making a funnier face than me.
Here, I'll cover the faces up until we start moving again.
It's hard to see the highlights.
Yeah, the Google Meet kind of slowed down for whatever reason. The rest of everything's still streaming. It still says we're streaming on YouTube. Oh, everybody got lost. Technical difficulties, but I think we got it all solved. And other than it flipped you guys.
I'm in top now.
There we go. Now I got to move the Seattle Kings logo back up there.
Is this the point in time where we get a classic Necker chime in?
Well, actually, Necker.
Leary chime in.
Yeah.
Chime in.
Well, we got to
Oh,
censor
man.
Bob a lot is the problem, so you can't always have the Leary chime-ins. But Yeti is chiming in the chats. Great lacrosse being played all across North America, which he is 100% right. But they actually, in the Spirits and the Oaks, they sent it to us. They went into overtime. It looked like most of the games so far were just the Battle on the Barge had 3, and I believe you had the Paper City team and the Spirits, and that was probably an impressive game as well. 18-19 in overtime.
Wow.
Oh, very nice. That's a chore to referee. I went up to Thousand Islands. I went up to Alex Bay to train a couple of new officials on a scrimmage it was an inter-squad scrimmage. There's some, obviously, the Utica people will recognize a lot of the names. Obviously, some of the guys, particularly from Yakosasni, elected to play up there. But the Thousand Islands team is going to be very competitive in this league. This is going to be a very, very good division this year.
Yes.
Whoever comes out of this division and goes in the Nationals will be a handful for whoever they play. Of course, who won it last year? The Northmen?
Well, it looked like he hit the
Westminster.
goalie right in the chest on that one. Right on the.
Yep.
Because I know the Northmen had a very, very nice run in the playoffs also.
Blakeman
They
feeds
beat
on top.
us in overtime in the semis.
And
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rock's gonna
no,
shut
it's going
Marty with the
to.
ball up top.
We will
get some
send a
help.
team to that'll be well prepared
Silver by
for that event.
I
without
can't
it.
wait.
Oh, yeah. No, the Nationals again this year, I'm sure is going to be amazing. Yeah, Westminster was actually supposed to come up to the Battle on the Barge. They ended up not being able to. I think they split a couple of their teams up to get a 4th team in that division. And I think that might have kind of been part of why their numbers were not quite as good for traveling. But kudos to them if you've got, you get 3-4 more home games, which means actually 10 or 15 more guys are playing if you've got another team.
It grows the game, and
Absolutely.
it hurts when it happens initially, but at the end of the day, it's a great way to grow the game.
Our field team, Seattle Lacrosse Club, we've been around for this is our 50th season last season, and we wouldn't have existed past 40 if it wasn't for another team named Kavu that split off half the team and grew separately from there. It really is something that was helpful.
Yeah, like you said, in the short term, it kind of does sting a lot of times, but when you really look at it, later on, it's crazy. Just like that Thousand Islands team. So Nate Jobson, who went up there to start a team because he wanted to be a little bit closer to home and with his family, and then all of a sudden, a couple guys went, and then he got in, and the players he's gotten, he ended up with a couple of legendary Hall of Fame coaches himself, and it seems like
no kidding.
every team kind of has like, a Dave where like you played for Team USA, or a guy like Nate's got his coaches with Benedict and Cook, and it's just like it's crazy how much talent spreads through this league.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's across North America. There's pockets everywhere. It just takes a couple of people to plant the seeds and give people the opportunities to play, and it'll just keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, As far as Bill, now, what did you think the biggest change was going from the IBLA to the NABLL? As far as because you had ref for the IBLA as well, correct?
I did do the IBLA when we had, obviously the best thing for me was the geographic region was shrunk up here. I didn't have to deal with Newburgh and Albany any longer in terms of finding officials down in those areas because first of all, there's not a lot of high school officials down there to begin with also. But I didn't have to deal with that. I thought the organization in the league last year as a startup was absolutely tremendous. Kudos to the whole group and the job that they did. And then when they put on the nationals at the Resolute Center, which again, having known the Resolute people and knowing that facility, that was just a fantastic event. And, it was structured. It was organized. I thought the commitment at the team level was outstanding. I didn't ref a game last year in which a team showed up shorthanded. I couldn't have said that to previous, affiliation. Like I say, the commitment levels from the teams was great. The front office was great. And now, like I say, the stuff that's gone on with the officiating on the officiating side this year to generate consistency, this just continues to grow. And, sky's the limit here. It really is. Again, we take a look at upstate New York. There's really no reason why we don't have an 8-team division in upstate New York. There's no league any longer that like the old Empire Lacrosse League that was a huge field league that was a feeding ground for, the U.S. World Team. Team Toyota had that division down in Baltimore that, their all-stars fed into the program for U.S. Lacrosse and the national teams. This is without a doubt the most organized lacrosse league in upstate New York and across the country. Well, across the country that anybody's seen, but in upstate New York, it's the most organized league we've had up here in 25 years. And it's a lot more organized than that league was. And players are going to gravitate to it because of the consistency, the quality of play, the venues. Sky's the limit here.
We got kind of lucky getting that Nexus Center up there too. I mean, everybody can kind of see it here in some of these videos, and this doesn't even do it justice.
That is a ridiculous facility, unbelievable. It was fabulous to go into the Utica Odd and referee in there. Great facility, but when you come into the Nexus Center and it's clean, it's bright, it's inviting. The venue is a little bit smaller, but the lighting is fantastic. The field is fantastic. A little bit slick because it is brand new, but the restaurant bar that's overhead at the end of the field. This facility is fantastic. The parking lot's done. It's just absolutely gorgeous in comparison to what it's been in the last 3 years. The city of Utica, that thing is fantastic. What that is going to do for that city is going to be incredible.
Oh yeah. Well, the Worlds. So you've got the World Juniors coming there this year, and then we've got the Worlds with the adults going. Yeah, it is super exciting. I can't wait. Dave, how close are we to getting an announcement on nationals?
I think we're very close. We told our general managers at our annual preseason meeting just the other day, but still waiting on the paperwork to be signed and finalized here. Hoping in the next couple of days we get something out.
All right. I mean, we're obviously all pulling for Utica because it's very convenient for us to get to. But I mean, we understand that the whole country doesn't want to travel all the way to the East Coast for everything. I guess we can understand.
It's on the short list though. I think you'll see us there soon.
Wow, you need to send a care package of Utica greens and turkey joints.
Yeah,
probably the turkey joints will probably put it over the top.
Then we're in, definitely.
No bribes. We don't take any of that.
Dave, that is turkey joints is a form of candy that originated in Utica. The only time you see them is around Christmas time, but it seems to always be a running joke in every game that these guys do.
Yeah,
I can't think of who the sponsor.
someone works it
It's
in.
Norris
Yes.
Turkey, Norris Candy. Used to be Norris Candyland, but then Candyland, I guess, sued them because it was called Candyland, even though they were open before the board game came out. So now it's
Oh,
Nora's
yeah.
Candy Shop, I think, is what.
Well, what you could possibly do is have Fay Farms put in a commitment to hold a big beef barbecue for us.
Yeah, well, we do have Fay Farms. Yeah, it's Nora's Candy. Paul's in the comments throwing it all up. But yeah, Nora's Candy, that is one thing Paul really does crazy. He gets sponsors out the.
Oh, he's got a ton of them.
He's
That's
got
fantastic.
everything. It takes a little while to run all of Paul's sponsors. Everybody else has the problem of they're like, well, we're still working on sponsors. Hopefully we can get you a couple sponsors. And Paul's like, do we have enough time to fit all my sponsors in?
It was great last year at Nationals. One of our sponsors was Crowley Construction, which they had ended their business 4 months before, but they wanted a jersey with their name on it. So we got the most advertising we've ever had for one of our sponsors for a business that he moved back home and closed it happily. But it was great. Good pitch for the team for next year.
The number of sponsors that the first year program up in Thousand Islands got is tremendous. Oswego does a nice job with theirs, and Oswego, to their credit, I think has done a very nice job in terms of connecting to some of the history of lacrosse and hockey in that city with the Riverhawks. It's a longtime brand name that's been there, and they kind of stayed true to that. And I think people in and around Utica have really gravitated, or Utica to Oswego have gravitated to that also.
Well, and Travis Cook, the Thousand Islands, I guess he's the assistant coach, Alex Cook's dad,
Yes.
but he's an Oswego guy as well, correct?
Yes, he is. Yep. Yeah, he's Travis must be in about 40 Hall of Fames, I think. Being a Tully guy, obviously he played at Lafayette on their tremendous 1967 team, and then he went to Oswego, and they stayed in that area. In fact, I think his son Alex, who plays for Thousand Islands now, played high school at Fulton. If he went to Oswego, I couldn't tell you, but they remained Oswego people. So that there's a lot of history in the league with that area also. Oswego's going to do a very nice job.
Yeah, it's like I said, I am super impressed with the way they've played. The Metro added another team down below too. I think it's going to be, it's going to keep getting more and more competitive. Hopefully next year we can get everybody from the division at the Battle on the Barge. We can get it kicked off good, and we also got to get the Spirits there and the Paper City team, because I've seen some of those highlights. Man, I wish we got them on that new camera that Crafty Beach just picked up, because on the cell phone through the glass is a little tough compared to. That's my favorite part about this now is I was trying to cut all the NABLL highlights before, and I was, for the first time in my life, I'm like, I've got too much lacrosse video to go through. I had 3 Can-Am games to make it through, and 4 NABLL games. It's just like,
When are we going to have cameras inside the goals?
We are working soon. We're going to be trying a multi-camera setup here pretty soon. But the nice thing is actually at the Nexus Center now, next time we'll have sideline interviews. The Red Hawks games are going to have sideline interviews. Any place that has a good enough Wi-Fi signal. So we'll be right down on the bench. We did it at the Red Hawks game last time for their junior. No, it was their senior game, but I was talking to Brett Bucktooth on the sidelines. We're making it pretty big time.
Wade Bucktooth and Creek Cathers. They'll be Eddie Slade. He's either playing goalie or offense. Those are the 3 I think will get you the content you need.
Those are the 3.
Three is very entertaining.
Yeah.
You will not mic up Mr. Hardy as an official, however.
I don't know. I don't really know if you need a mic. I can usually hear you pretty well from the wherever we're standing.
Well, that's unfortunate, but yeah, it's usually true. I love the give and take between players and coaches, and I don't have a problem if a player gets on me, but if I come back at him, he better not have a problem with it either.
All right, Justin Warner, nice look.
Good seal by Ryan.
Now, That's Deej, the
Tackle
goalie for
line and
Collar
Sully
City.
with the
I
save. Gets a ground
don't. I
ball.
think he's
Lucy
almost
is what
60. I think he
starts
was
it.
58 at Nationals last year,
Stotler in the
which would
middle.
put him. Yeah,
There's number
he
9
is
again.
such a good goalie. It's so hard to
Crease
believe
by
that he's as old as he is, because I didn't believe it when the first time I saw him, he come over and he was talking
Here
to
we
me and he told
go.
me, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because he was a
Sully with
guy
the
who
save.
didn't play lacrosse for 10 years, and then now you see him back over here. He got involved with this league just because he was helping with the junior um, Firewolves, and Justin McKinney was as well, and he was like, "Hey, come play with us," and now he's the only goalie that shows up,
Ooh.
and yeah,
Neil
And
Polish.
it's
Neil,
insane.
little two-man. Nice defense by 1-7.
Justin Warner getting around. The big man takes a shot through the legs. There's a rebound. Blaine. Oh.
Blaine Pike. Oh! Keeper.
Yeti are setting up on offense now. Kiefer coming down, setting picks. Brandon Davis
Oh,
takes a look to the middle. Back to Kiefer. Back to Kiefer.
Is
And
a
33.
very solid goalie. I think the goalie play up here in this region is actually pretty good. We're
A
fortunate.
lot of it is like Will Dempsey's grew up playing with Onondaga. He's had
Yep.
goalies to learn from, but you look around the league, it's really impressive what guys have done with no one to look up to, just figuring out themselves, being fans of the game, watching the pros, whatever they can do. It's always impressed me what American goalies, how good they can be, and B, what clever ways they can come up with to stop a ball.
Yeah.
Some creative ways.
Yeah,
first.
it's always creative. The one goalie dived on the back of the cage the other day and tried to, pull the ball into his chest, and I was actually behind goal line extended, because I think you get a better view there, looking back up the field and opening up to the field, and I clearly saw him pull it back to his chest, and yeah, there was a little bit of an argument, but it's like, yeah, I don't think so.
I might have tried that once or twice in my day.
But no, goalies are funny, and they're usually actually the nicest guys on the team, quite frankly.
Usually goalies are the nicest, but what I have actually
Absolutely.
found, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, Dave, but is the stranger a goalie is, the better he is. Like if like after you talk to a goalie for a couple minutes, you're usually like, "Oh, okay. You're a little different than the rest of us. You look at things differently." And I think you have to get in front of the ball and not flinch. I think most people's normal reaction, at least mine is, I can admit, like if I was blocking a shot, I was a hockey player, but I would stand there and I'm going to close my eyes right before it hits me. I just can't help it. It's my natural instinct. And a couple times we see what Deej takes one off the face mask. They're intentionally putting their head in the way of the ball. That's not something most normal human beings will do.
That one always weirds me out, because we're taller than the crossbar, so you might as well get out of the way. But whatever way you want to stop the ball, that's on you, man.
Yeah, no, I always help goalies up when they're flat on their back in the crease. It's they're funny. Yeah, when you talk about goalies getting hit, I was reading an article on a goalie that I knew years ago when I was a kid, who was at Hobart. Rick Blick was his name, and they would go into Bristol Gym at Hobart with the guns machine from the baseball team, and they would fire balls at him off the guns machine into his face, because he was trying to eliminate the blink reflex, the natural blink reflex.
Oh man.
And some of the stuff that he did was just absolutely insane, but that's how all goalies are. They're just yeah.
Like I said, the creativity, it's always impressive.
Yeah.
Well,
someone's got to think of it.
Yeah, and it really is. It's honestly the most entertaining style of lacrosse, though, is that creativity. So like Brian Duncan, I don't know if you know him from the Eels or not,
Yeah.
but he are not the Eels. He's the Northman's goalie.
Northman.
Yeah, he is one of my favorites to watch. He reminds me of Dominic Hasek out there. He is flying all over the place. He's getting out. He's setting screens. Duncan is definitely one of my favorites. I love that style. It's just so entertaining. And he gets out, and the way he can throw the ball down the field too. That's another thing that I think really separates your goalies, as far as some of your goalies are really good, but they don't move the ball very well. And having a goalie who can get the ball up the field is such an advantage.
Yeah.
I was a stubborn kid and I was like, if I stop the ball, why does it matter? Like, the but so it took me a while to develop that, but young goalies, it matters.
Yeah,
It probably it did probably stunt my growth as a in the pros and stuff. It was one of the words on the scouting report. Can't throw the ball as well. You know?
Yeah. Well, and goalies that can clear become, an extra piece to the offense.
Look
It,
at Christian Del Bianco in Calgary. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's my favorite example of it. Is that guy? He really is such an underrated part of that team. Not only because he's such a good goalie, but he had like 20 assists this year. He had more assists than
Yeah.
most NLL players.
Yeah.
hmm
It's like
we
you
have
said,
we have a couple barns in the league that are they're going to be a little difficult for clearing the ball. We've got a low netting system in Thousand Islands that is going to affect transition play there, I think, and Oswego also has a lower ceiling, not as low as Thousand Islands.
Oswego's biggest problem is the heat. I'm scared to bring my
Yeah.
streaming equipment. I was gonna go up there and do a
might
game, but
melt.
I was like, I think my PC would just melt in there.
Yeah, that's warm, and then you're also that'll be the only field that we have with cement, and that creates a completely different dynamic also in terms of pace of play, and it really is taxing on officials because we are so much more spread out because the ball is like a super ball just bouncing all over the place, and players and referees getting used to that floor is obviously a little more difficult. So,
I did my first Can-Am game on cement, Tuscarora Tomahawks there the other day.
oh,
Wow. Wow,
yeah,
wow, wow.
following the ball is insane.
It's so hard. I do not envy my wife's job at all. She runs the camera for. Actually, I ran it for Battle on the Barge because she was selling T-shirts on the end. That's why you can tell the camera is way worse than it normally is because I am choppy and I'm all over it. When she's in charge, it's nice and smooth and she knows how to do it. But instead, yeah, I tried to get my son to run the camera and he's like, "No, I'm gonna run the computer, Dad, and watch the highlights and listen to Paul and Bob laugh and Dan and run all that."
That's funny.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him. So, what do you guys? We should probably get back on at least the referees because that was the main reason we were having you guys on. So, all the training videos and stuff. What is the best way for somebody to get in touch with either you, Bill, or you, Dave, as far as say you get somebody who like maybe wants to try reffing?
Yeah. My email is coordinator@nabll.com. Reach out to me. I try to be on that almost every day, and we've got a list of resources we can send you, a list of videos put together by
Yeah.
our crew here at the NABLL with our our partners with Jeremy and Don and Brian. We have ones like I said from USA Lacrosse. We're getting a case book from the NLL, which is hundreds of documents of just 3 pages on what's a 2-minute slash, what's a 5-minute slash, with videos. If you're looking to reach out, wherever you are, even if you don't have a team in your area, we're hoping to grow to wherever we can in time, and
Well,
the more and more rests we can get,
having the videos
we'd love to
is
have you.
huge. Like the nuance, it's hard to explain the difference in a slash and in words. So the videos has got to be such a huge part of this.
Yeah, we're really blessed with what how the NLL stepped up to
No,
help us here.
it's gonna I think you'll see a big difference this year at the Nationals because of the sharing of the technology with all the areas. It's going to make for a much more consistent game. I think the players are going to enjoy it obviously a lot more. I think it's going to be easier to announce for and broadcast for. But no, the stuff we've gotten out of the NLL, and I'll tell you, for a long time they weren't an easy organization to get stuff out of.
I think from what I've heard though
is
is Dave really gets a lot of that credit as he spent so much time on the phone calls. Everybody on the board has said Dave really went above and beyond this year. So thank you very much for that. But it's been
a lot of effort went into it because I know over the years I've tried to get stuff from, and it is very, very tough.
I'll tell you, there's one thing I'll tell you. There's never a short phone call with referees. There's always opinions. There's always something going on I gotta know about. I love it. It's why I took on the job. But I'm happy I have the unlimited minutes. Let's just say that.
I'll tell you, a lot of a lot of that emanates from the fact that the lay people in our game, the players and a lot of, they don't understand the one biggest concept that we try to adjudicate towards, and that's equal pressure. If something happens and it was really equal pressure, like a cross check, even in a field game, if it was equal pressure and it didn't have any significance on the game, let it go, because we could blow the whistle every 5 seconds and no one would enjoy that product. You
Yeah.
know, if it wasn't for equal pressure and trying to rein in the insanity at times, it would not be a very fun game to watch.
No, because
But
that's what makes box lacrosse so exciting is that there's not a whistle every 3 seconds. I
yeah,
love the possession calls. I think that's so huge for the sport is the possession calls. And really, basically, if you watch an entire game and you don't think once, was Bill Hardy out there reffing the game? Which is basically exactly what happened at Battle on the Barge. Not once, and actually, I want to knock on wood. I've had a really good run with all of the games I've streamed lately. I have not thought about who the referees were once, so I definitely yeah, you guys did a great job at Battle on the Barge. It wasn't a thing at all as far as thinking about who it was. So great job there. And the Can-Am guys have
the
been stepping up.
best part about the battle on the barge from our perspective on our side was we had a bunch of new guys out there that got repetitive runs, and it's tough to get that in this game where I can referee 40 high school and college games in a year and then do tournament after tournament after tournament during the summertime. You can't get that in box lacrosse, and it is really tough to duplicate. And that's which is where the Canadians are so much more different than we are, because those guys over there, you know, last year I watched the Minto Cup, the Man Cup. I was watching everything I could find online because Will and I have just gotten into this, really gotten into the sport. But you know, I'm watching Brent Klum every single night on the floor. I'm watching Mark Thompson every single night on the floor. Um, Guys that I did the World Games, and there's my buddy from the World. There's Wally. There's Fergie. They're game after game after game, night after night, and we can't get that here. And it it's why we're going to have a slower learning curve, but it's getting better and better because of the amount of games that we have in this league. It's you know, we're going to get there.
Yeah, the speed of the game. It's kind of like goalies being when Dave was talking about it earlier, where the American goalies have to be creative as far as trying to get that much rubber, and that's really what you'll see with the referees too. Like you said, you got to be creative with how much you can get, experience on the floor, where you're going to get
Yeah.
your reps in.
You have to be willing to get in the car to referee this game.
Yes.
There's a lot of miles in this game. You know, on the college side, I live in Tully. It takes me 5 minutes to get to Cortland State. It takes me 5 minutes to get to Lemoyne. Utica College isn't far away. You know, if I I can do scrimmages at Syracuse. You know, that's a 5 minute drive. There's games everywhere. Box lacrosse not so easy. My closest games obviously is the Onondaga Nation, and we did have guys this year that actually took the class to be certified for the North American Men's Lacrosse Association. We had guys that went out and got certified US Boxla. They just got online and did all those certifications that were available because there's a hunger for it. But you still got to get in the car to drive to go find a game. And, you know, to go to Utica, to go to Thousand Islands, to go to Oswego. You know, I've got a son that plays for Oswego, and he also plays in the Upstate Collegiate Box League in Rochester. He's in Oswego one night a week practicing. He's in Rochester one night a week practicing. And then he's got games in each of those towns, you know, once a week also. Box lacrosse takes effort. But you know, as we continue, you know, programs like this going on, you know, the NABLL's expansion, we are going to get more and more teams, and this is going to be a lot easier for us. This is a tremendous league that is very well organized, and the growth is going to be substantial.
Well, the biggest thing is they're dumping the resources back into it. I mean, look at all the resources that they put into getting the refs videos and stuff. They put resources into this, getting the show out here so we can get everybody to talk about the rules and all that stuff. Plus, we're getting all the highlights out there for the guys. One thing I do want to say to anybody watching, we have a Google Share Drive folder. You can send me a message at Blue Squatch Productions on Instagram or on Facebook, and I will give anybody from the team As long as the GM of the team is good with it, I'll give them access to the shared folder. They upload all their videos, and then like we did tonight with the Battle on the Barge videos, because that's all we had, and a couple of them from the Paper City team, is we're going to try to stream the replays over the top because, as you were talking about, there's so much talent out there, and I know. Dave, you must get to see. I'm sure it's the same as the team that you had last year, where you've got a super talented team. You've got a couple of, guys that really shine, and then a bunch of young guys bringing it on. So the stuff you get to see, I don't know. I'm partial to like the battle on the barge because you see guys get a little sillier with it. You're going to see them try to shoot between their legs. It's not a regular season game, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's a ton of fun. Our our team's been developing. We've kind of let uh, the rookie class come in naturally. We have half of the University of Washington coaching staff. Everyone but one person on that staff plays for our team or coaches our team. So there's a couple of UW seniors that have graduated there, slipping into the team, or friends from high school, different things like that. But um, there's other teams like the Everett Express who they're not playing with us this summer. Just with how much coaching they're doing, they couldn't fit the schedule in. But they're calling their season the Friendship Tour 2.0, and they're going to be out having a blast. We've got a couple of scrimmages set up against them, hopefully to get the Voodoo on the schedule as well. But yeah, it's been fun to watch it develop. It's not just watching my team be good and compete. It's about how much the region can grow and how much good lacrosse is out there. And
well,
um,
because of
yeah,
the NABLL, Can-Am is now streamed too. So I mean, this like yeah, what this league has done, you guys don't even get to see really all the work, but you guys gave us a chance to go stream nationals. We learned a lot, which gave us a chance to stream Lax and and then we just kind of rolled from there. So yes, thank you to you and all the other board members. But guys, we've been doing this for almost an hour and 10 minutes already. I just realized. I tell you, it always flies when you get on here.
That's how
Everybody's
it
like,
goes when you talk to referees, by the way.
that's what
yeah.
I
This is a
can't.
short one.
Yeah, I can't even blame the referee on this. This will be this is anybody when we talk lacrosse, and it's always like, oh wait, we got
Yeah,
to limit it to an hour, and I look at the timer and I'm like, oh wait, we're over an hour already. But yes, thank you very much, everybody. I really appreciate Bill and Dave what you guys are doing out there. It's awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time and
yeah.
explaining. And yeah, keep on
Absolute,
doing.
as- absolute pleasure. Really good talking with you, Bill. Really good talking with you,
Let's have
Greg.
a fantastic summer. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited about this year up here in upstate New York, and I hope there's a really, really positive announcement coming out here in the next week or so for the people of upstate New York, and onward and upward.
Onward and upward.
Good. Yep.
The quick plug: we just opened up our second slide store for the Seattle Kings. Go to Seattle.Kings on Instagram. This wonderful hat. We've got all sorts of great stuff on there. We'd love if you guys could support the team.
Absolutely. Everybody check out your teams. Make sure you support your local sponsor. Everybody remember that without these sponsors, these teams don't get to treat these guys like this with the sweet jerseys and like every team's different.
Morris
Paul.
Candies, everybody.
Yes. Yes, I
Morris
love it.
Now,
Candies.
people can collect some really nice T-shirts in this league, that without a doubt.
Hands
Yeah.
down. All
There's
right.
some good stuff. So,
We're really excited out this time. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.
All right, appreciate you
Good
guys.
night.
Oh, he actually hung up too. I just
Okay.
stare at the stream for a second and then boom, as
Yep.
soon as I see my hand wave on the